everybody. Peter Greenberg here with you again for another global travel update. You may remember that 2 weeks ago we came to you from Kampala in Uganda. Last week we were at the legendary Arizona Biltmore in Phoenix, and today we're in the 406 area code. We moved all the way up to Bozeman and a very interesting location called the Armory Hotel, named after an old National Guard armory that was built in 41, 42 at the beginning of World War II and stayed that way until around 2003. So many memories here. It's been converted into a great historic hotel, as we like to say, a hotel with a past. We're up here doing a story about it. I figured, you know what? While we're here, we'll do the global travel update right with you. And of course, you know what to do in terms of getting your questions into me. We'll be glad to answer them. But first, I want to just talk a little bit about the news, and then we have a surprise guest, and then we'll keep going. But first, let's talk about what happened today, right? Boeing got rid of the guy who ran the Boeing 737 MAX program. Gee, what a surprise. By the way, the guy they got rid of was the guy they brought in 2 years ago to take over after the two crashes that killed, 346 people. So obviously that wasn't working too well for them. It's a deeper safety culture issue, not just with Boeing, but with the FAA, and that investigation continues. And we're not even done yet. We're just getting started, and we will be covering that story. All those planes that were grounded with United and Alaska are back in the air. They've been inspected under strict protocols. I'm not having an issue with it at all, but I have a deeper issue, as you do too, with long-term problems of inspection, oversight, and who's actually doing the work. You've heard me talk about this every single week since January 5th. And of course, after the Boeing 737 MAX crashes in Ethiopia and Indonesia, you heard me talking about it then too. The story is not going away, and we will stay on top of it. But today's a day that an 18-year veteran of Boeing basically was shown the door. Now, it doesn't matter who's going to replace him if you haven't changed the culture. And the FAA really has work to do to make sure that they understand that Boeing is not their client. We're their client. And they've never figured that out. Maybe we can help them. You all have elected representatives, let them know. Because the FAA needs to get funding to get the right number of inspectors hired and trained to do independent third-party inspection work and not delegate that to someone who's an employee of Boeing. Conflict of interest in the extreme. Anyway, this place we're in right now used to be the Armory for the National Guard. I can't tell you how many thousands of people who came through this place from 1942 to 2003, but they kept the building. And it's an architectural icon, and they've been able to preserve it. And now it's the tallest building in Bozeman. And but great stories here. And everybody who knows this building, who's in Bozeman, knows the stories. So from a storytelling perspective, it's great. We shot it as a special cover story of our show, The Travel Detective, which will be coming out in a couple of months. So you'll be watching that either on PBS, Amazon, or Apple. Now, before we get to some more stories, I'll just do one more before I introduce our special guest, who's going to help open the show, and he'll be back later as well. Of course, what did American Airlines do this week? They did the predictable. They raised the baggage fee again. So now it's up to like $35, $40, and $45. And it's only a matter of time before the other airlines will follow suit because it's a cash cow for them. The airlines make more money on ancillary fees, not fares, fees, than they do on selling tickets and flying planes. It's out of control. And I've said this before, but it bears repeating. It's a tax dodge. An airline ticket is taxed at a very high federal excise tax. So a $100 ticket may only net the airline about $48. The rest of it's taxes. But if they charge you a fee, then it's not taxed under federal excise tax. It's taxed under local sales tax. So a $100 fee nets the airline $93 or $94. So guess what? That's why Frontier Airlines charges you $20 for the ticket and $100 to breathe as a fee. So budget accordingly because it's going to get worse. And here's the real irony is of all this. The airline's been cramming more and more seats onto their planes, so it is now a physical impossibility. We've done the measurements, and one airline even privately admitted it to me. It's a physical impossibility, even if you boarded the plane with only one carry-on, that the airline would have enough capacity in those overhead compartments to accommodate everybody's carry-on bag. That's how much out of whack it is. And so it's going to get crazier because now you're going to be forced to check bags, fees, anger, frustration, not to mention losing bags. So we'll be covering that as well. So now let me introduce my special guest. He moved here to Bozeman 42 years ago. He's a concert promoter, a musician, a songwriter, and he and I share the same values when it comes to which bands we like, as it turns out. Tom Garnsey, come on over here for a second and say hello to everybody. But before I tell you something else, and that is when we were broadcasting from the Four Seasons in Nashville a couple of months ago, that's when we got a chance to hang out with the Gibson guitar people down there. That's where they do all the electric guitars. But where do they do the acoustic guitars? They do them here in Bozeman. They like the wood here, and that's where it's made. And the factory's not far from here. And one of the things that happens at this hotel is they have an arrangement with the Gibson folks that if you're a guest here, you get to borrow a guitar and even get a guitar lesson. Today, we do better than that. We get a guitar solo with Tom Garnsey. Now, Tom, when you moved here, and one of the bands that you followed, right, was a band that I learned about through a friend of mine that many of you may know named Bonnie Raitt. She loves this band. It goes back to the days of Lowell George, who's no longer with us, but the band's still playing.
Yeah.
Little Feat.
Raging. Yep.
Yep.
Doing well.
Absolutely. And Tom now is one of the people who teaches here, who plays here. He's in his own band as well. And you wrote a song with who?
Wrote a handful of songs with Bill Payne, who's the keyboard player and co-founder of Little Feat. Also played with the Doobie Brothers and Bob Seger and almost anybody from the 70s, 80s, and 90s that you can think of. He was on their records.
And I can think of them. We're the same generation.
Yeah.
So, and the guitar, by the way, this is a Gibson acoustic, made here in Bozeman. But we have another connection that we just realized about an hour ago, and that who gave you the guitar? The guy who gave him the guitar, I went to school with, somebody you may remember, Steve Miller. Went to school with me at the University of Wisconsin. So that's Steve Miller's guitar.
It's a long dragged out story, but I'll try to shorten it up as best I can. I had a little deal going with the local music store, Music Villa here, long ago, where if you came to their store, and right when Gibson first moved here, they had a little showroom over there, and if you came to their store and they didn't have the Gibson you wanted, they'd call me up and I'd go over there and show you around. Well, I was just starting to get going in the concert business, and I knew people in that world. Steve Miller happened to be playing here, not my show, but was playing here in Bozeman. I called up his guitar tech. One thing led to another. I took him to the Gibson factory, and he bought 14 Gibson guitars, and I sat there in a room playing guitar with Steve Miller for a couple of hours, passing them back and forth. And it was surreal to me because I hadn't met anybody like that at that point. And he would say things like, "This one's for McCartney for Christmas," and I'd be like, "Paul McCartney," we got to the end of the thing, and it was a funny little situation, and I won't go into the deep end of it, but he piled up 14 guitars, and at the end of it, he sort of draped his arm around me and said, "I didn't even know Gibson was here. Let's make this guy whole," and let him sit in this room. There's a room of 50 or 60 guitars. Let him pick out anything he wants, send him on his way.
And that's it. Wow. So what are you going to play for us?
I'm going to play a song that Bill Payne and I wrote. Like I said, I saw him when I was 17 years old. Full circle, 40-something years later, he moved back out here. We became good friends. And we wrote a handful of songs together, which is kind of a dream, but we'll see,
And the name of the song?
It's called If I Had a Mind To.
Well, we do have a mind to, so Tom Garnsey.
Cast aside your worries, sweep out all the rain. So just to the car at the end of the evening train. Send sweet letters to an old friend, a paper made from wood. Take the time to find the rhyme like you always knew you could. The answer begs a question, once again we ride. You slipped in the back door, I went around the side. Put your heart in a shopping cart and wheel it up and down the road. both hands on the wheel so the damn thing don't explode. If I had a mind to, I might turn and walk away. If I had a mind to, I might change my mind and stay. If I had the time to, I'd make the time to have my way. If I had a mind to, if I had a mind to. So you held on for dear life, I held out for more. We wear the smiles of 1,000 miles, let me help you find the door. When life sucks the life out of living, time has no end. Seems like just a waiting game, you can count your only friend. Your face lights up the sky like before the rainbow comes. Stars and bars let freedom ring to the beating of a drum. It's a long road to salvation, the end is always near. Through the twisting and the turning, the brightest light is always fear. If I had a mind to, I might turn and walk away. If I had a mind to, I might change my mind and stay. If I had the time to, I'd make the time to have my way. If I had a mind to, if I had a mind to.
All right. Tom Garnsey on the acoustic guitar, courtesy of Steve Miller.
Steve Miller and Gibson, yeah.
And he'll be back. We got more to talk about. Of course, we got to answer some of your questions and do our work for today here at the Armory Hotel here in Bozeman, Montana. Thank you again, Tom. You'll be back, I know. All right, Judy's saying hi. Oh, great to see you at the Phoenix Travel Show. You got it, Judy. That was last week. By the way, this coming week, I'll be in Washington, D.C. Saturday and Sunday speaking at the Washington Convention Center for the Travel and Adventure Show there. Hope you can come out and see me. Moving right along, hello from Clark, New Jersey, says Ann. Sue's saying hello from Bellingham, Washington. Tried to sleep in the rocking chairs at Charlotte. We know what happened. Okay. Greetings from Ashland, Washington, or Virginia, excuse me, Paul. Robin saying good evening from Williamsburg, Virginia. And hello from Chicago from Breas. And Paul is saying, I may be in Croatia in June. Any hidden gems to share? I'm going to give you one. If you're going to Dubrovnik, and you don't happen to be a Game of Thrones fan, congratulations, go around the old walled city and get somebody to tell me, take me to the basketball court. The basketball court? It's the best view of Dubrovnik and nobody knows it. They'll get you through a little back alleyway. You won't even see the court from the wall. You go down a little stairway, open up an iron gate, and there's the best half-court basketball court you'll ever see in the world, and it's looking right out at the sea. Talk about a photo op. That's a hidden gem. Okay. Hello from Funny. Hello from New Jersey. Judy Decker says, yes, American Queen bankrupt. The American Queen cruise line, you know, the river boats that they're going through the Mississippi and a number of other rivers, basically suspended service yesterday, closed up shop, everybody laid off. Crazy story, we'll be following that. Sharon saying good evening. Jean saying good evening from Tulsa. I'm taking a cruise to Alaska from Vancouver on August 6th. When is a good time to buy plane tickets? Well, August 6th is the height of the summer in the Alaska cruise market, so you might want to buy it now, right? As long as you know it's going to be high season, there's no reason to wait. Okay? Loretta saying hi from Lansing, Michigan. Love the downtown area of Bozeman. Museum at Montana State is great too. Yesterday, speaking of Montana State, I went out there and hung out with their Their horse team. I learned how to rope. I actually landed a steer. Yeah, guy from New York. Okay. It was a dummy steer, not a real one, but I did it. Okay. All right. Hello from Richmond. That's right, Harriet and Jim. Lena's saying hello from Orange, California. Regarding passports, just renewed mine and got the new one in just over 2 weeks. Astonished. This is the time to do it, guys. If you wait another 2 weeks, the summer crush comes. You know what it was last year? 12 to 16 weeks to wait. There goes your summer if you don't apply for it now. Okay? So congratulations, Lena. Okay, here we go. Camilla's saying cheers from Tucson. And Colleen's saying hi from San Francisco. With all your travels, what's your secret to staying physically healthy and mentally sharp? Well, mentally sharp, the jury's still out. But physically healthy, I'll tell you. It's not what you do on the plane. It's what you do on your land. Meaning, first of all, airline food is an oxymoron. You with me? All right. So you're not on the plane to eat. You are on the plane to drink, but not alcohol. You got to stay hydrated. The alcoholic equivalent at altitude is worth 2 drinks on the ground. It dehydrates you. It's messy. No. I cheat. I have a little club soda, maybe a ginger ale. Water's the way to go, and lots of it. The other thing I do is I bring fresh fruit on the plane. You got to consume it there anyway so you don't get nailed by the agriculture guys when you land. But I bring fresh fruit on the plane because that also hydrates you and it fills you up. But here's what I also do. If I feel like sleeping on the plane, I sleep on the plane. If I feel like working on the plane, great. If I want to do 5 movies on the plane, I do 5 movies on the plane. But then when I land, no matter what time I land, no matter where I go, I must stay up until midnight local time. That means no afternoon nap. If you take an afternoon nap when you land, no one will see you, including you, for 3 days. Second thing I do is I don't eat a heavy lunch. You eat a heavy lunch, your chin's in your chest. It's over. If you have to walk around, shoot hoops, do whatever you can until you can stay up till midnight local time, and then you'll cycle. And I do the exact same protocol when I return. Now, I'm not going to tell you it's going to work for you, but it's worked for me all my life. I only average 4 hours of sleep a night anyway, and that's how I do it. And I'm only 19. Okay, that's the only lie for today. Here we go. Hello from Denver for Evelyn. Wanda's saying hello. My friend got his passport renewal in 3 weeks. Now's the time to do it. You're right. All right. Sarah saying hello from BC and British Columbia. Hello from Naples, Florida to Sherry. Patrick saying your thoughts on changes with baggage fees and frequent traveler awards. Patrick, don't get me started. The airlines are nobody's controlling them. They get to do what they want. There's no mandate that requires them to redeem miles or to change the way you earn them. It's become basically the clinical definition of a fraud. What American did, in addition to charging more for the baggage, is they're basically saying now that it's how you book your ticket and the kind of ticket you book, which will determine if you get any miles at all. Now, we all know that Delta did this a couple of years ago when they said if you booked a basic economy fare, you got no mileage. But as my friend Scott McCartney likes to say, friends don't let friends fly basic economy. The only people who should be flying basic economy are people in the witness relocation program or people who are fugitives from justice. Because I'm assuming you're traveling light and you don't care. Pay the other $30 to get you up to the next fare category. Do not fly basic economy. But even if you get the miles are based on a pricing dynamic system that's prorated. In the old days, right, if I flew 2,500 miles in coach, I got a minimum of 2,500 miles. Not anymore. It's based on what I paid for my ticket. It's oh my goodness, it's valueless now. We're dealing with Venezuelan currency. So you want to know my feelings on that, Patrick? What American just did was they followed the Delta rule and said if you don't book on at least a couple of their approved portals, you don't get any mileage. And of course, they're also saying if you're flying basic economy, you're SOL as well. That's an airline term. All right, here we go. Sarah's saying, best company for guided tours. Way too general a question, Sarah. You got to give me a destination first. Okay. Paul says Steve Miller is the bomb. He is. Tom agrees. All right. Piotr's saying howdy from, where are you? In the Netherlands? Okay. Katrina's saying hi from Alabama. Ingrid's saying hi. Robin's saying Tom rocks. Tom rocks. Okay. He'll be back. He'll be back. Boston Bob is saying greetings from Boston, where Delta will be rolling out direct flights to Hawaii. Yeah, they've got the equipment now to do nonstop. And you know what? Seasonally, they're gonna do all right. But don't look for great airfares because they will give you a premium price for that nonstop ticket that doesn't have to go through LA or San Francisco or Atlanta. Ingrid's saying, why aren't you singing along, Peter? I'm going to tell you why. Because Tom didn't share the words with me.
Ooh.
But, no, it was a new song to me. It was a new song.
New song to me.
Yeah, okay. But later on, I'll do requests. I'll do Inagata Davida. No, I won't. Okay. Now I'm really dating myself. Iron Butterfly, forget it. Okay. Mei Ling says, hi, Peter. Hello, Mei Ling. Jonas saying, greetings to the Bay Area. Boston Bob, what time of year should I visit Punta Cana when there are fewer peeps there? You know when? July. Okay. Jonas saying, where are you going to be during the solar eclipse? Well, that brings up an interesting point. April 8th is the day. It's a Monday. And believe it or not, I will not be watching it. I'll be somewhere where I really can't see it that well because I'll be traveling. But Delta Airlines just announced a special flight. It's going to go from Austin, Texas to Detroit, Michigan on that day. Leaves about 10 o'clock in the morning, lands in Detroit around 3 in the afternoon. And that's going to be able to see the entire eclipse in its totality. And the funny thing is, they just announced the flight a couple of days ago. It's already sold out. Yeah, good luck getting mileage, all right? But they're going to be doing another one, I bet. They're going to probably add on another section, so I'll be on top of that. Okay. Ann says, I need to buy tickets to Montevideo in October. When should I buy? Well, you know what? October is the beginning of their spring and summer. Actually, their spring. So you know what? The fare should not be high. I would say 54 days out. That's my usual rule of thumb. So sometime in August, okay? Ann's going to Montego Bay, Jamaica, okay, or she's already there. Okay, any restaurant recommendations in Medellin, Colombia? I do have them. Go to our website, petergreenberg.com, you'll find them there. Ingrid saying, I'd like info on traveling for dental work. Oh, I'm going to tell you a little story. We did this story a couple of years ago, and it's still going strong. Every year, but it happens, by the way, at this time of the year, all the snowbirds come down from Canada and from the northern parts of America, and where do they head? Arizona. And where do they head in particular? Yuma. Do they want to stay in Yuma? They do not. They want to go to Yuma to go walk across the border into a small little town called Algodones, Mexico. It's called the town of dentists. And by the way, they were all trained in the U.S. But you must have 25 or 30 dentists. The entire town is dentists and pharmacies. So you can get your teeth done and get Viagra. It's crazy. But here's the interesting thing. For all the Americans who are either underinsured, dental insurance in this country almost doesn't exist, or just barely insured, they get all their teeth done, and it's one-stop shopping. How many times have you gone to the dentist and they go, oh, we have to do a crown, we have to do a mold, come back in a week? No, all the labs are down there. They'll do the work in the morning. They'll say, go have lunch, come on back, and you walk across the border that day, and you pay a fraction of the cost. And these are dentists that are trained in the U.S. I knew something was up when I saw dentists walking across the bridge who were going to get their teeth done. Crazy, right? So if you want dental work done, check out Algodones, and you'll have a good time. All right, here we go. Oh, Sarah wants to know best company for a guided tour in Turkey. Well, there are a couple of them. Abercrombie & Kent does a great job, but you check out the folks at the Shiran Palace. By the way, that's still an Ottoman palace, right on the Bosphorus. Check with the concierge there. They are the best wired folks for tour guides in Turkey because they work with the universities and you get the professors as your guides. And it's the best because you don't just see the sights. You get context and you get perspective. All right, check with them. All right, here we go. Should I be concerned flying Spirit or Frontier, not baggage or seat related? Do they get pushed back from takeoff line if there's an airport delay? I have no idea what you're talking about. Spirit and Frontier, they're good airlines if you know what you're getting. Look, do the seats recline on Spirit? No. Okay, there's one. Is there a business or first class section? No. Is the price right if you know what you're paying for? Right, but don't forget the fees versus the ticket price, and you're going to be paying ancillary fees for everything. If you do it right, it's still okay. But if you go there expecting you're going to get an upgrade, or you're going to get rich Corinthian leather, or you're going to get a beautiful gourmet meal, you would be classified as delusional. Okay, here we go. Hello from Beverly Hills. Hello, Zora. Rich says, what city is better to visit, Guadalajara or Oaxaca? That's a tough one. I've been to both many times. I was actually, here's an interesting story that most people don't know. I was actually deported from Guadalajara once. How about that? I was down there doing a story for Newsweek on the University Autónoma de Mexico. It was a medical school, and who went to that medical school? All the Americans who couldn't get into a U.S. school, and they went down there to be trained as doctors. And we wanted to do a story about how all these kids were going down there because they couldn't get into U.S. schools. And when I got down there, and this is back in the 70s, the early 70s, the school was run by a very right-wing conservative family, and a required course was why the U.S. needed to be in Vietnam. I thought that was bizarre. And when I wrote about it, before I could even get out of Guadalajara, I was escorted out. So if you're asking me which one I like the best, I still like Guadalajara, but if you're looking for food, you're going to Oaxaca. That is a gastronomic capital of the world. All right. Renee is saying hello from Roanoke. I'll be there soon, as a matter of fact. We're going to be hanging out at the Omni Homestead, the oldest hotel in America. Is Airbus having similar problems as Boeing? Well, I'll give you a qualified maybe. They have a production line issue because they're getting all the orders now that Boeing hasn't been able to fulfill, but they have still the same safety culture where they're delegating inspections to the people who shouldn't be inspecting the planes. So hopefully the FAA will lead the way finally in bringing the hammer down, and maybe Airbus will have to follow suit with their own regulators. Okay. All right, now, hold on a second. I'm going to make sure I didn't miss anybody. Okay, a couple of other things I want to just bring up. And I'm going to ask you guys to think about this question, and you can either write me today or write me later at peter@petergreenberg.com. Question, yes or no? By the way, this could be rhetorical. Has tipping got out of control? Think about it. Has tipping got out of control? Now, I'm not talking about the concept of tipping or whether people deserve a tip or even a decent minimum wage, but the concept of tipping. What's the definition of tipping? The word tip? It means to ensure promptness. Okay, fair and well. But when was the last time you got a credit card receipt at a restaurant? It says, here's your bill for the meal. Then there's a surcharge to pay health and benefits and welfare benefits to the waiters. Then there's a mandatory tip of 19%. And then they leave a space blank for gratuity. Are you kidding me? Right? That's not the way to do it. I want to be able to give a tip in a pleasant, enthusiastic, and thankful way. I want that tip to be my choice, right? I was checking into a hotel recently in Arizona, and I only had a carry-on bag. You know what I say. There are only two kinds of airline bags, carry-on and lost. It was late at night. I gave the clerk my credit card. They gave me my room key. I noticed there was a bellman there. His name was Manny. And I said hi, but I didn't need him. I walked to the room, went to bed. The next morning, guess what? There was the bill under my door. I expected that. I looked at the bill. What was on the bill? The room, the occupancy tax, and then one more charge. And what was it? Mandatory tip to bellman, $10. Well, I checked in very late that night. Manny was still working because it was only 6:30 in the morning when I saw my bill. So I called him. I said, Manny, do you even get this money? He goes, no. I said, this is nuts. This is what we're dealing with now. Same thing with resort fees. People putting on the bill mandatory. That's not hospitality. That's cruel and unusual punishment. So tell me what you think about tipping. Even when there's a policy on some cruise lines of no tipping, right? Even if they have a policy of no tipping, I'm still going to tip because people go over and above and they deserve it. But when it's imposed on you, right? And you'll see this a lot at hotels with room service. It's even worse, right? So tell me what you think about that. Either today or next week we'll talk about that. Now, a couple of other things I want to talk about. One is, of course, airfares. And they're going down on domestic flights. They're going up on international flights. So be aware of that as you plan. But if you are planning international trips, the US dollar is still strong in 4 destinations: in South America and Argentina, in Tokyo, in South Africa, and in Turkey. The US dollar is king, right? Because while they can adjust airfare rates and hotel rates, they cannot adjust basic goods and services that the locals pay. And that means a tube of toothpaste, a night out for dinner, article of clothing, cab ride, you name it. It's a buyer's market on those 4 destinations. And especially in Turkey. 15 years ago, the value of the Turkish lira to the US dollar, the exchange rate, was 1.1, right? 1.1 to the dollar. You know what it is today? It's hovering at about 28 to 1. Home run, right? So if you're planning on going overseas, the airfares may not be beneficial, but it won't be expensive for you to be there. So think about that. Now, under the pet peeve department, this one is really scaring me. And thank God the court in this situation ruled the right way. Let me tell you what it was. A passenger on Air Canada needed a question answered. And Air Canada steered that person to a bot under the Air Canada banner, right? I mean, look, Frontier Airlines doesn't even have a customer service department anymore. But this is Air Canada. They steered this guy to a bot. And guess what happened? The bot gave this person completely inaccurate and misleading information and caused a lot of problems. And this person sued Air Canada. And Air Canada tried to say, oh, the bot was acting on its own. The bot was a separate legal entity. We're not liable. Well, the judge saw right through that. Guess what? They were liable. So, you know me, I'm a big fan of a conversation with a human being. This time, the Air Canada folks, the bot didn't exactly work, right? And they got caught, as they should have gotten caught. By the way, speaking of bots and ChatGPT and AI, do you know that 10% of all the travel books now being sold on Amazon are fake, written by AI or bots? And they're all incomplete and inaccurate. And Amazon's selling them. Where are we coming to? By the way, hold on a second. Yeah, I'm real. Okay, we can continue. All right, but anyway, there's that. Now, are you in the mood for an EV car? Right, it's all the rage, right? Teslas. Well, the funny thing happened to one company, otherwise known as Hertz. They wanted to jump on the EV bandwagon in a big way. They thought this was going to happen quickly, so they made an order about a year and a half ago to Tesla for 100,000 vehicles. Guess what happened? Nobody rented them. Why? It's one thing to drive a Tesla around town, right? Within a certain radius of where you live. But most people who rent cars rent them for longer distances. And nobody wanted to rent the cars because they had no idea where the charging stations were. And we still don't. So guess what Hertz just did? They just sold 20,000 vehicles. So if you're in the market for a slightly used EV, has Hertz got a deal for you? Anyway, that's the update on that. When they have more charging stations, we'll see. But right now, somebody got ahead of the curve on that one. All right, we talked about the Delta flight, and now one more thing before we go back to your questions. April 2nd is an interesting day because it's the last day one hotel in Las Vegas is going to stay open before they implode it, blow it up, and take it out. It's been around for over 65 years. It used to be an icon, now it's a bit of a white elephant. It's the Tropicana, right there on the corner of the Strip. And why are they knocking it down? Because that's where they're going to build the new baseball stadium for the former Oakland Athletics, who are now going to become the Las Vegas Athletics. So April 2nd is the last day of this hotel. So here's what I'm thinking. Now, I'm not encouraging you to do it. I'm just thinking this could happen, right? How many people now know that the hotel is being shut on April 2nd? So everybody's going to want to do their own particular movie version of Hangover, right? Trash the room, destroy it. What are they going to do, charge you for damages? They're blowing the place up the next day. I can't wait to see the TikToks coming out of the Tropicana between, March 25th and April 2nd. This is going to be fun to watch. So I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying it could. Anyway, and by the way, based on how much money they haven't put into the Tropicana in the last couple of years, like the last decade, they should blow it up. So we'll see what happens. Okay, a few more questions here. I'm going to scroll down here and catch them up. Hold on here. Mailing Moore says, Bugsy Siegel must be turning over in his grave. Well, Bugsy was actually at the Flamingo Hilton, not at the Tropicana. And Ingrid says, get some free towels. Oh yeah, this place is going to get raped. Oh my goodness. All right. Mailing says, I give cash tips because even Lyft drivers don't receive the tips at all. Interesting to know. And Gene says, yes, and it's out of control on cruises. Well, on many cruises, as you may know, for those people who've done cruises, they put envelopes in your room and they suggest the tips you must leave. That takes the emotion out of it. That takes the kindness out of it. Most somewhat robotic, right? Now, on ships like Silversea, they have a no tipping policy. And the reason why they have a no tipping policy is you're paying for it at a much higher cruise rate, but the good news is you're not going to your wallet every 5 minutes. But guess what? I don't know a single passenger who goes on Silversea who doesn't tip over and above what the guys are already going to get and the women are already going to get. And they do it in a good spirit, too. Okay. And Harriet and Jim say tipping is completely out of control. Dito says way out of control. Evelyn says, I went to a restaurant here in Denver and on my bill was a 4% service charge for employee health insurance. You know, employees should get health insurance and restaurants should provide it. They should bury it in the bill that you pay for the food, right? Don't be competitive on rate, be competitive on value and treat your employees better. But don't make me feel I'm getting nickeled and dimed. It takes away from the whole experience. I'll give you another one that has nothing to do with tipping, but it really pissed me off. I went to a dinner at a restaurant, which was I hate to use the words, fine dining. I love, anytime somebody says to me, would you like to go to our fine dining restaurant? No, I want to eat in your crappy restaurant. But okay, it's a fine dining restaurant, and it was an upscale restaurant with a very good menu, a very good chef, and the prices to go along with that. I knew what I was getting into. And I sat down at the table, and I had a great selection of choices for my meal. But what was in the upper left-hand corner of the menu? It said, we're adding a surcharge of $2.33 for bread coming to your table. Did they have to tell me that? Now they've nickeled and dimed me. They've devalued the entire experience. Bury the bread and the veal, you idiots, but don't make me look at it that way, right? If you're going to an expensive restaurant, you know you're going to pay for it, and you want to just have an enjoyable time and not figure out who had the cottage cheese and who had the tuna fish or who had the bread. Okay. Adrian says, tipping is way out of control, even for picking up your to-go food. How many of you go to pick up food and leave a tip? I mean, interesting dilemma. Okay. Now, while we got it, let's go to the photo of the week. Look at that photo. How cool is that? And congratulations to this week's winner. That's Gene Garrett. And Gene writes, travel is sometimes about finding the unexpected. The monasteries of Meteora were one of those surprises on a tour of Greece that we did several years ago. Built high atop the rock formations, these monasteries were surreal landscapes. We were able to tour this one and saw another one. This image was made from the bus window of our tour bus. The thing I love about these monasteries is, who did you piss off to have to do penance to try to get up there, right? Ever try to climb Mount Sinai in the desert? I did it. And, you know, the monks built those stairs. And the separation between those rocks, I mean, somebody really did something bad. That penance was bad, all right? But anyway, there you go. Great photograph. And if you think you've got one like Gene's and you think it qualifies as the photo of the week, you know what to do. Send it to photocontest@petergreenberg.com. And if we agree that we like it, guess what? It goes right up there with Gene's. Hey, Tom, come on back for a second. I promised you another concert. Now, Tom Garnsey, what are you going to play for us this time?
Well,
and I'm not going to sing along.
I've been going back and forth in my head.
We all do that, by the way.
I know it's not a safe place to be, generally speaking. Do you play the other original or do you play the Chris Smithers song? But I think the Chris Smithers song is cool because your Bonnie Raitt connection.
Yeah.
He wrote "Love Me Like a Man," which is a huge hit for her. She's other than Lowell George, her other favorite songwriters. So,
Okay, let's do it.
great player, great writer. If you don't know him, look him up. If I were young again, I'd pay attention to that little known dimension, the taste of endless time. Just like water rolls right through my fingers, flavor of it lingers like a rich red wine. In those days we were single and we lived them one by one. Now we hardly see them, they don't walk, they run. I've got plenty more to set my night on. Don't wait up, leave the light on, I'll be home soon. I've never seen my life in such a hurry, but if I start to worry, I get left behind. It's like a party, but you don't get invitations, and there's just one destination, you gotta be on time. Days we rhymed in couplets, and we rhymed them 2 by 2. Now we hardly rhyme at all, but here's a few. And if they hurt, there's bullets left to bite on. Don't wait up, leave the light on, I'll be home soon. Well, that drummer in my head needs inspiration. There's a lack of syncopation that holds me to a line. It's just so hard to see these cages that we sink in, and by stages we just sink in to a slow decline. So years we danced in waltz time, we danced them 3 by 3. Now we hardly dance, but if you stick with me, I've got plenty more to set my sight on. Don't wait up, leave the light on, I'll be home soon. These races that we run were not for glory. There's no moral to the story. We run for peace of mind. Just so hard to see these cages that we sink in. By stages we just sink in to a slow decline. If I lived to be 100, I was born in 44. 39 to go, but I ain't keeping score. If they hurt, there's bullets left to bite on. Don't wait up, leave the light on, I'll be home soon. Said I've been left for dead, but I still fight on. Don't wait up, leave the light on, I'll be home soon.
Nicely done.
Thank you.
Tom Garnsey.
Thanks.
Steve Miller's guitar.
That's right.
I give
It
you
helps.
that. And by the way, another shout out to Little Feat. If you've never heard this band, get their albums. It's unbelievable.
And then my band, Hooligans. Don't forget about us.
Don't forget about Hooligans.
Come on.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. We got a few more questions to answer before we go.
Oh, yeah.
Here we go. Lorena says, I have a date of myself in Las Vegas and my budget isn't too crazy. I'm willing to spend a few $100 on something to do solo. I'm not a gambler. What do you suggest? Well, if it's open, it's a crazy thing. I've done it. Right down off the strip. It's not on the strip. It's a little further away off the strip. Is an opportunity and an attraction called Dig This. And what it is, they've got heavy construction gear in this big lot. Big Caterpillar tractors and haulers and shovels and wrecking balls, and you get to operate the equipment. If you're frustrated at all, this is where you go. It's an experience I loved. I mean, you're like whipping back. Oh, it's great. Check it. Dig This. Okay, here we go. Allie says, what items do you pack that randomly come in handy? Well, they don't actually randomly come in handy. They always come in handy. You ready? Heavy industrial strength duct tape. I take it everywhere I go because it fixes everything. That's number one. Number two, separate spare batteries for everything I operate, right? Including a charging bank that operates as its own bank, right? Separate pairs of glasses. Two of everything, right? And that's what I take. I never leave without the duct tape, though, right? Gorilla tape, actually. You'd be surprised. It really fixes a lot. Because all of a sudden, you land somewhere and all of a sudden the zipper breaks on your bag. Well, you don't have time to go buy a new bag or fix the zipper. Get out the Gorilla tape, right? It's the best. All right, now here we. Oh, and 2 flashlights. Okay. Colleen says aisle or window seat on a long haul flight. Here's the key, guys. Go to the airport bathroom before you board the flight. Then take the window seat. Nobody's going to crawl all over you. Put on your industrial strength Darth Vader headphones. Put on your playlist. Bye-bye. Okay. Okay, Gina says, do you know if the travel adventure shows will come back to San Diego next year? Not sure that they will, but let me give you an update on where I'm going to be. Of course, this coming weekend at the Washington Adventure Show, Travel and Adventure Show in D.C. at the Convention Center. Then after that, on March 16th, San Francisco. Actually, in the San Francisco area, it'll be in Santa Clara. And then after that, we have Atlanta, and then we have Dallas. So if you go to traveladventureshows.com, you'll see everywhere I will be speaking, and I hope you'll come out and see me. The radio show, Eye on Travel, this weekend will be coming from the legendary Biltmore Hotel in Phoenix, Arizona. So I hope you'll join me there. And of course, all of our shows, Hidden, Royal Tour, and The Travel Detective, you'll find them on Amazon.com, or Amazon Prime, I should say, or Apple TV. I want to thank everybody here at the Armory Hotel. What a great place, what a great work they've done to build this thing back to something it never was, but could always be now. Tallest building in Bozeman, and they've got great artwork here. They've got great music here. You just heard Tom. They're not far from Gibson. And the other thing is they've got a great chef here. And by the way, yes, they serve bison, and no, it doesn't taste just like chicken. But that's another story. Bottom line is I will get on a plane tomorrow. I will see you guys next week from another remote location somewhere in the world. Anthony Protus Chung, who was just with us here in Bozeman today, but flew back to LA to do the boards tonight. Please get some rest. Thank you for doing this. And I will see you next week, everybody. Travel safe, travel smart. We're going to stay on top of the Boeing story, as you know, and everything else that comes to pass, because it's not going to be easier going into the summer. And renew your passports. See you later, guys.